Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today we'll be talking about the game plan for becoming a corporate controller. And if you've been following the channel, you heard me talk about things like accounting, financial reporting, financial fraud, and things like that. But in this video, I want to break down to you what it means to be a corporate controller, what it takes to get there in terms of education and experience, what kind of money you can expect to earn as a corporate controller, and things like that. So this is the topic of this video, so stick around. Welcome to a new video. If you're new here, my name is Bill Hanna and I'm the financial controller. I've been in finance for the last 15 years and I'm a licensed CPA in the great state of New York. And this channel is all about giving you the summary of my experience over the last decade and a half. So if you're in finance or if you own a business, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And without further ado, let's jump into today's topic. All right, let me give you a quick overview of today's video so you know what to expect. So first, we'll talk about the primary function of a controller, or what does a controller do? And then we'll talk about the salary range or the earnings. What can you expect to be making as a corporate controller? And then we'll talk about the career options, meaning what career trajectories can you have after you become a controller? So what else can you do after you become a controller? And then fourth, we'll talk about the basic requirements. And these are going to be like education requirements, certifications, experience, and things like that. And then fifth, we'll talk about the breakdown of the main job responsibilities of a corporate controller. And then finally, I'm going to tell you how do you set up yourself today to become on the career path of a corporate controller. What are the things that you need to master early on to become a corporate controller? So let's dive right in. Let's talk about the primary function of a corporate controller, or the main job responsibility, which is the production of financial statements, otherwise known as financial reporting. And an easy way to think about this is that if financial reporting is a symphony, or if the financial statements are a symphony, then the financial controller is the maestro who's orchestrating and directing the different team members into putting together the information from accounts payable to accounts receivable to payroll to all the different functions within accounting, to putting it all together to produce financial statements. And so this is the primary function of the corporate controller. And later on in the video, I'm going to break it down further for you. What does it entail to do accounts payable or receivable or cash management and all of these things. But the main function is the production of correct and accurate financial statements. And that's the primary or the core function of a corporate controller. All right, now let's talk about everybody's favorite subject, which is money. What can you expect to be making as a salary as a corporate controller? If you look on salary.com and you look for corporate controller, you'll find that the median salary for a corporate controller in the US is just a little bit above $200,000 a year, which is a very, very comfortable salary to have in the US. And you can expect to have a really, really good lifestyle with that kind of money. You can compare it to even what a doctor or what an engineer make. And so making over $200,000, and that can go up to $300,000 or $400,000 if you work for bigger companies. But that basically provides a very comfortable lifestyle. So definitely is a good goal to have and a good career path to follow and try to get into corporate controllership. So the median salary that you can expect to have in the US is a little bit above $200,000 a year. All right, let's talk about the career options for a corporate controller, meaning what can you do after you become a corporate controller? And in my point of view, there are three options. The first one is that you could stay as a controller and just basically continue to make more money and climb the corporate ladder. Or you can become an FP&A director. So a lot of times I see controllers leaving controllership and becoming directors of financial planning and analysis, because basically when you're a controller, you're super close to the details of the accounting, the financial systems, billing and vendor relationships, and you can easily transition into an FP&A role, and most likely that's going to be a director of FP&A. The third option for you is going to become becoming a chief financial officer. And if you want to do that, you want to take a step after controllership into financial planning and analysis as a director or a similar role, and then spend a couple of years there so that you can align yourself with more strategic tasks like budgeting and forecasting and things like that. And then from there, you can become a chief financial officer. So to summarize, the options are either to continue to be a controller and just continue to make more money and grow, or you can jump into FP&A or financial planning and analysis. usually at the level of director. And then the other option that you have is becoming a chief financial officer, which is very ambitious, of course, and your lifestyle will entail making more money, but also having more stress, because obviously the more stress, or the more money, the more stress. This is just like a general rule of thumb. So basically, these are the three options that you have: either continue as a controller, or become a director FP&A, or a chief financial officer.
If you or anyone you know is preparing for a job interview in accounting, be sure to download my accounting interview checklist. It's 100% free and an amazing summary of the most common accounting interview questions. I'll leave a link in the description below.
All right, let's talk about the basic requirements for becoming a corporate controller. And there are three basic requirements. The first one is regarding education. So you need to have a bachelor's degree in accounting. Have I seen other majors becoming a controller, like business administration, finance, economics? Yes, I've seen that in many cases. But I'd say that 90% of the time, from my observation at least, 90% of the time, people who have made it to corporate controllership come out of a bachelor's degree or a major in accounting. If you get a master's degree, even better, but the basic requirement is a bachelor's degree in accounting. And then the second requirement is regarding certification. And the gold standard in the US for certification for accountants is certified public accountants. And so that is the second requirement is becoming a CPA. And have I also seen people who are not CPAs become corporate controllers? Yes, sometimes that takes place. But most of the time, companies would only hire a corporate controller from a pool of people who are CPAs, because usually that indicates this is the gold standard for knowledge, and especially in technical accounting and financial reporting, is becoming a CPA. And basically the requirement for becoming a CPA in the US has become now having a master's degree in accounting, or a certain number of accounting classes usually is achieved only with a master's degree in accounting, and then 1 year of work experience under a CPA, and then passing a CPA exam, which is 4 parts. And my advice is that you take a review course to help you pass the exam. And the one review course that I always recommend is Roger CPA Review, which I always leave a link down in the description below to get a discount on that. And then the third requirement for becoming a corporate controller is experience, because most of the time you will need to have 5 to 10 years of experience working in the different functions within accounting, within accounts payable, receivable, payroll, all the kind of functions within accounting. It's about 5 to 10 years working in different functions in accounting. I've also seen people who have done it with less than that. I've seen people who have become corporate controllers with 4 years of experience. But this is the fringe, and this is a smaller percentage of people. The majority of the time, this is achieved with longer time frame of experience, between 5 to 10 years. So these are the three basic requirements: a bachelor's degree in accounting, a CPA certification, and experience between 5 and 10 years. All right, now let's spend some time talking about the breakdown of the job responsibilities of a corporate controller. So I'm going to give you a list of the things that a corporate controller has to own or oversee, and then I'm going to dive into each one of these a little bit to give you just a little bit of color of what these things entail. So the list is accounts payable, accounts receivable, cash management, financial reporting, payroll, and budget. So to give you a little bit of color of what accounts payable entail, basically this is making sure that the vendors are paid on time. So managing the vendor relationship, which is obtaining the vendor information, banking information, and W-9 and all the other kind of information. Usually a corporate controller isn't doing this kind of work him or herself, but delegating that to an accounts payable accountant. But the ownership sits with the controller in terms of accounts payable. And then secondly is accounts receivable. So this is making sure that the billing is taking place on time, invoices are being sent to customers on time, and the collection is happening timely, and monitoring the aging of accounts receivable, making sure that all of the accounts receivable is collected on time, and chasing anything that's late. Again, the controller isn't doing it him or herself, unless it's a very small company. They could be doing it themselves, but usually it's being delegated to someone who is in the billing function or the accounts receivable function. All right, after that, cash management, which means that you're always making sure the company has enough cash to meet its financial obligations. So basically paying vendors, making payroll. So you're always looking at the collections from customers, making sure that that is fast and having a delay on paying to vendors, so that you're always having enough cash on hand to have enough cash on hand to meet your obligations. And there is a forecasting element to that, which is always looking a few months ahead into the future and making sure that you always have enough cash to meet the obligations. And then you have financial reporting, which basically means that you're producing the three financial statements: income statement, balance sheet, and statement of cash flow, which is a collection of all of the information we talked about: expenses, billing, accounts receivable, and collecting all of that together into financial statements and providing that timely to management so that they can make decisions about the business. And then after that is payroll, which making sure that the payroll is correct. And usually you should have a process for that, which is usually onboarding of new employees and offboarding of employees who leave the company, making sure that the timely submitting of information for somebody when somebody joins and when somebody leaves, making sure that the payroll is accurate every single time. And then the final piece here is budget, which basically is making sure the company has a good operating budget and committing to it. So if you budgeted for the company to spend $5 million in the year, you always are monitoring and making sure that you are progressing to meeting that budget for the year. So these are the elements: accounts payable, accounts receivable, cash management, financial reporting, payroll, budget. These are the main job responsibilities of a corporate controller. All right, now let's talk about you and what you should be doing if you've decided to become a corporate controller. What are the things that you should be doing early on in your career to make sure you have the right qualifications to become a corporate controller? Well, first we talked about education. So basically you need to have a bachelor's in accounting. So if you're still at the point of your life in college and you're still choosing majors, a bachelor's in accounting is the one to choose to become a corporate controller. If you've already majored in a different field like economics or business administration, that still can work. It will be a little bit more difficult, but still can work. However, if you can still choose majors, you should choose a major in accounting. And then after that, you should be also looking into becoming a certified public accountant, because becoming a CPA in the US is the gold standard for knowledge of accounting in general. So look into the requirements in your state for becoming a CPA and get certified. And then what you also should be doing is that you should get exposure to a lot of different facets of accounting in your career. So you should be trying to get a couple of years of experience in accounts payable, and then a couple of years of experience in accounts receivable. And then also after that, you should be doing financial reporting role, like a manager, maybe financial reporting, so that you get exposure to the different facets of accounting. And you should be doing this either within the same company, moving within a company in doing different roles, or you can be moving from a company to the next so that you can get exposure to all of these areas. The other thing you should be doing is getting some public accounting experience, and this can be done either early on after college, joining a CPA firm to work in public accounting for a couple of years, or if you've already worked in private and you haven't worked in public ever, you can find a job for a couple of years working in public accounting. It just adds a lot of meat to your resume in terms of technical accounting knowledge, financial reporting, Sarbanes-Oxley, all of these things that helps a financial controller. So I highly recommend getting some public accounting experience on your resume. It's not a must, it's a preference. I've seen many controllers become controllers without public accounting experience, but if you can, and if it's an option available to you, I highly recommend getting a couple of years of public accounting experience. And then finally, the thing that I would say is try to own financial reporting early on in your career. So if you work under a controller and they are responsible for financial reporting and the production of financial statements, try to ask him or her to become someone who's responsible for the production of financial statements, meaning you generate financial statements at month end, review it, make sure all the accruals have been booked, everything looks correct, and review it before you submit it to them. So owning financial reporting early on in your career will help you just naturally progress into a corporate controller role. So try to get that exposure early on in your career by asking your manager to get into it. So this is basically what I recommend, is getting the right education, which is a bachelor's in accounting or a related field. Getting a certification as a CPA is really helpful. Working in public accounting, also working in different facets of accounting, accounts receivable, payable, different financial reporting, and all of these areas, and also beginning to own financial reporting early on in your career. All of this will help you if you want to become a corporate controller, help you get there much faster. All right, let me know in the comment section below if you want me to make a video focusing on any of the things that we talked about today, like accounts payable, accounts receivable, financial reporting. Let me know in the comment section below. That could be a good video idea for the future. But this is it for this video. If you liked it, give it a big fat thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe down below, and I'll see you in the next video.
Thank you.